Welcome to the official Awakened State Halloween episode. So today is all about one of my absolute favorite things. But first, let's talk about, it's almost Halloween. It's Scorpio season, and I gotta tell you, Halloween is my favorite holiday. So I want to do something silly and ridiculous for our YouTube channel, which has been growing amazing. Thank you to all of our subscribers for tuning in and watching. So this is just kind of Ashley being silly to talk about a very serious topic, but that's okay. So tune in for shadow work. Hey guys, it's Ash from The Awakened State. So today I want to talk about shadow work. Okay, so I tried seriously getting my horn in the shot like 4 times and it just isn't working. It's too dang tall. So we're just gonna roll with it. So happy Halloween! All right, so shadow work. I figured this is a very fitting topic as we are in shadow season and we are very much entering Scorpio season. So what is shadow work? Because a lot of people get freaked out by the term, and I'm here to just bring the light, bring the energy of knowing that the shadow is actually your friend, and it's a tool to learn how to embrace higher consciousness. So first, let's define what is the shadow self. So I personally believe we are manifesting from 2 different energies. We are either manifesting from light consciousness or shadow consciousness. Light consciousness is the energy of higher truth. It's the energy of taking action from a place of soul, from a place of soul alignment. And it's also in an energy of really embodying our higher self. Whereas shadow consciousness is literally operating from a state of our wounds, our state of suppression, and the state of operating from our fear mind, the place within us that doubts, feels insecure, that feels uncertain, and essentially how we grew up. So basically the shadow self, and this is basically a term that has been coined by Carl Jung, and it is basically the antithesis of the soul, is what he would say. So the antithesis of the soul is the opposite of the soul. It is the unconscious aspects of our personality, our identity, and essentially we can really summarize the shadow self into one little sentence. What did you never receive that you needed to receive as a child but didn't? Journal on that, think on that, ponder on that, because that is the true essence of what the shadow self is truly about. It's about learning that there were some things that you never received as a child, such as safety, support, nurture, love, acceptance for your emotions, acceptance for who you are. And in this essence, this becomes a part of your shadow self, the part that you are emotionally suppressing or basically baggaging up and putting into your body and not wanting to show anybody or not wanting to anyone to see. This is the unconscious aspects of who we are, such as when you get angry and then feel shamed, or when you feel upset but then you don't want to feel that emotion. That is the shadow self. So when we start to look at our shadow self, we start to see that in this energy of pure unacceptance, because we're not accepting, we're in a state where we're not in a state of acceptance, we're suppressing our emotional body. And in this space, the shadow is here to show us, well, this is what needs healed. This is what needs fixed. This is what needs to be alchemized. And so the shadow reveals the light, because our shadow will show us what part of ourselves do we need to consciously heal and essentially alchemize back into light consciousness. So this is a really cool concept to explore, because as you start to look at archetypes, there is something known as shadow archetypes. And basically, our shadow archetypes are like a raw awareness of who we are. But if they were to be acted on by themselves, it would cause complete disaster in our lives, because only operating from the shadow self is pure emotional chaos in the identity. Whereas if we were to look at how the shadow transcends into light consciousness, we can use the shadow as a personal tool to start to understand how to create the bridge into light consciousness. So I know shadow, light, shadow, light. So what does that mean in really simple terms? Okay, well, let's break this down. So shadow is your ego. It's your resistance to fully what you want. So when we look at the shadow as a core concept, it's basically your ego resisting what it fully wants. And it is a constant awareness of showing yourself that, because it is like the body is screaming at itself to heal. So we will feel this in the form of resistance as cognitive dissonance, where we feel that we are shooting up against a different reality. So cognitive dissonance is where we feel that we have two paradigms competing with each other. So someone says that this is right, this is the only way that it is right, but then you go, no, that is completely wrong. I know that's wrong. And so you're competing against their consciousness, against your consciousness, and it's causing a form of cognitive dissonance against your personal values and views and beliefs of the world. So cognitive dissonance shows us a lot about our resistance patterns, because the resistance will show you what you need to heal. So the resistance can be a tool, a shadow tool, to learn to alchemize that back into what you need to heal, what you need to manifest, what you need to see within yourself. And in this space of removing that emotional suppression, you start to become more in alignment with higher truth, higher consciousness, higher self. So the shadow itself is our ego. It's the person that feels negative. They feel off. They feel ashamed. They feel doubtful. They feel insecure. It's whatever you feel inside of yourself that you're either suppressing, not wanting to deal with, avoiding, ignoring, or you're just completely unconscious to it. On top of it, like you might just be like completely in a state of reactivity, but you're not aware that that reactivity actually is happening for a reason. So when we look at that in a space of shadow, we have to look at the shadow as a tool instead of looking at it from this lens where you are personally in a space where you can learn to heal it. So for instance, light consciousness is authenticity. It's you being in your authentic truth, who you are as a person and who you are as a healed, natural human, basically. So the shadow work is essentially we learn to alchemize our shadow back into light by transcending the shadow. So when you really look at it, oh, hey, look, if I go this way, it finally goes into the screen. So when you look at it like this, oh, okay, yeah. So when you look at it like this, your shadow will show you a lot about how you can use it as a tool to heal. So for instance, a lot of us are kind of scared of our shadow. We're either thinking that it's this element of really looking at what I'm afraid of, what I don't want to face, what I'm unwilling to look at. And yes, that is true. But the hugest thing you have to realize with your shadow is it is about looking at what do you actually need to heal. What did you not receive as a child that you needed to receive? Maybe it was support. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was acceptance. Maybe it was safety. Those are very critical things to look at because it shows you what you are actually needing to heal. And in order to heal that, you must evaluate, well, what is my shadow saying? What is it actually saying? And am I willing to question that? Am I willing to look at the shadow, see it for what it is, and choose to move through? Because a lot of us aren't willing to move through. So that's the shadow. Now we have light consciousness. Well, what the heck does light consciousness mean? Light consciousness is about your authentic self. So it's about the person that is beyond the conditioned self. So I want you to think about how when you grew up, there was a lot of people who projected all their ideas, all their opinions, all their beliefs onto you. And then you took that in and said, oh, that's how reality is. But that's not necessarily true. So you walk around and you go, oh, this person's always calling me a shy person. This must mean that I'm shy too. Okay. So now I need to walk around and be shy. But that's just a persona you're latching onto that not is necessarily your truth. So when we look at how do we alchemize and heal, it's really about choosing to empower our personal sense of identity and alchemize that shadow back into alignment. So here's what I want to say, and I want to emphasize, is a lot of the times when we discover shadow work, what happens is the opposite, is we go on this expedition hunt where we go, I gotta find my shadow. I gotta do this. 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 And then what ends up happening is we get sucked down this rabbit hole of where we are personally poking our wounds with a stick repeatedly and not doing the actual work. We're not actually doing anything to heal anything. We're just going, oh, there it is. There it is. That's more awareness I need to do. That's more with that. And instead, what we're doing is we alchemize the shadow. You want to alchemize the shadow. You want to see it as a friend you could have tea with. You want to look at the shadow in the eye and know that, hey, I see you, but that's okay. That's a part of me. I'm human too, and that's okay. And then we learn to alchemize it, because the more power it has over you, the more power you are giving it to your reality. I want you to think about that. The more power that you give to that, you are letting that have a hold over you, over your reality. So what we do is we romanticize the shadow. We romanticize it and we make it all big and sexy. And what we do when we do this is we are essentially just poking our wounds with a stick. And when you look at it that way, it's important to see that the shadow work is always about transcending the ego, without question. The question is, how willing are you to do that? And how willing are you to look at, well, what did I never receive that I needed to receive as a child? What did I really need to receive? What am I neglecting in myself that I'm not giving back to myself? And in this space of the shadow, are you willing to look at, well, this is why I'm angry. This is why I'm upset. But this is what I actually need. This is what I truly need so I can move through. And once I move through, then I have permission to give myself where I can fully start to heal. I can fully start to alchemize that shadow back into light consciousness and choose a different story. And in that process, it's truly about learning not to romanticize our shadow, but to look at our shadow from this lens, of objective awareness. This is like really annoying me. Okay. So when you think about it like that, I want you to think about how your shadow can personally be something that you can learn from. So when we think of shadow work, a lot of us are like concerned and upset and we don't really want to go there. But what if you realize that shadow is actually just a tool? It's a tool to understand your resistance. And your resistance is nothing more than refusing to receive what you truly want. So if the resistance is a tool and it's a refusal to receive what you truly want, don't you think that's worth exploring? Because if this is what's going on, if resistance is literally nothing more than what you don't want, and you are actively refusing that in your life instead of allowing yourself to have your desires, then when you look at your shadow from an objective lens of awareness, now you can start to see that your shadow is a tool to understanding higher consciousness, and it is nothing about obsessing about your wounds, romanticizing your wounds, getting lost down the rabbit hole of victim-inducing stories that are perpetuating a story that you are powerless or victim. And when you are in this space of feeling that you can never have what you want, and in this space where you constantly are projecting the refusal of what you want, and in this space you start essentially kind of in the wormhole where you're in the quicksand, you're in the wormhole, and you cannot get out because you're only seeing it from one lens of the story. You're only seeing it from one lens of the story. And in this space, you start to see that the shadow can be a tool to fully learn and question your ego. And when you question your ego, you can learn to transcend the ego. And that is the ultimate hack of shadow work, is learning that you have the power within you to change your life. The moment that you are willing to question your resistance, and in the questioning of your resistance, that's when the magic happens. All right, so I'd love to hear your thoughts for this special Halloween, oh my God, episode. And I'd love to know, how do you see shadow work? How do you feel about knowing that the shadow can be a tool instead of just feeling that negative mindsets, negative shaming, and all of this stuff is actually just bad, and where our negative emotions are bad, and instead see this as a liberation of self? It's a liberation and an acceptance of who you are, knowing that the shadow self is a natural part of you that is showing you how to heal, how to manifest, how to accept what you want, how to align with what you want. And in the space of full acceptance, you can have what you deeply desire. And in the process of that, you begin to heal naturally. All right, so I had so much fun with this video. I hope you deeply enjoyed today's lesson. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And I hope you have a happy Halloween if you celebrate. And just so you know, we are not offending any unicorns nationwide. Okay? Okay. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed the shadow work. And I hope you learned that the shadow can be a tool on our personal healing and manifesting journey. And most importantly, it is an amazing way to truly embody what you want. All right. I hope you guys have a good day. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I would just like you to know that no unicorns were harmed in the creation of this video. And if you would have a fun time joining us for the Manifestation Challenge that will be going live November 1st through the 5th, where we're going to be talking about how to create your own manifestation ritual using a unique process of transcending your shadow and learning valuable tools on your manifestation journey. Okay, see you guys next time.